The modern world can often feel like a massive, crowded casino where everyone is vying for the same high-stakes prizes: status, wealth, influence, and recognition. The game, however, is not a fair one. While many of us operate under the assumption of a level playing field, a closer look reveals an unsettling truth: the rules are not the same for everyone, and the dice are often loaded. Some players enter the arena with a strong belief in honorable competition. They are the ones who work tirelessly, keep their promises, and treat others with genuine respect. They are the true believers in a meritocracy, the idea that hard work and integrity will inevitably be rewarded. For them, success is only meaningful when it is earned honestly and fairly. Yet, they are often outpaced and outmaneuvered by another kind of player, the ruthless opportunists. These are the individuals who smile while subtly undermining their colleagues, who make promises they never intend to keep, and who view morality not as a guiding compass but as a strategic tool. For them, the only rule that matters is winning, and they will discard ethical considerations the moment they become an obstacle. This dynamic presents a stark and uncomfortable reality: the most ruthless among us are frequently the ones who climb the highest, and the fastest. They ascend corporate ladders, secure lucrative deals, and seize opportunities, not because they are the most talented or deserving, but because they are the most willing to trample on others to get ahead. This leaves us grappling with a deeply unsettling question: is the very fabric of our society woven to reward the worst in human nature? A pattern as old as power itself. This isn't a modern phenomenon, it's a timeless pattern etched into the annals of human history. The pages of history are filled with the cunning Roman emperors who seized power through treachery, the corporate magnates who eliminated rivals through calculated deception, and the politicians who rode to power on a wave of empty promises and the calculated exploitation of fear and prejudice. It's tempting to see these figures as isolated exceptions, but a deeper analysis reveals a darker truth: they are not anomalies, but recurring patterns. Ruthlessness is not a bug in the system, it's a fundamental feature of human competition. In a world where resources are finite and ambition is boundless, the willingness to deceive, dominate, and disrupt provides a significant tactical advantage. The reality is brutally simple: those who hesitate out of a sense of moral obligation are often left behind. In contrast, those who shed morality like a burdensome coat surge ahead. This is not a pleasant truth to accept. It forces us to ask a truly dangerous question. In the relentless pursuit of power, is morality a liability? Nietzsche's lens: master versus slave morality. To explore this question, we can turn to the insights of the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, who unflinchingly examined the nature of power. Nietzsche argued that morality is not a divine decree but a human construct, born from the eternal struggle between the powerful and the powerless. He famously distinguished between two contrasting moral codes: master morality and slave morality. Imagine two figures locked in a fierce competition. One is a decisive, proud, and ambitious individual. Their definition of good comes from what empowers them, what strengthens their will, and what allows them to assert control over their own destiny. This is master morality, a code of strength, self-definition, and noble ambition. The other figure is hesitant and submissive. They value humility, obedience, and self-sacrifice. Their definition of good is based on conformity to external standards, often imposed by those who hold power. This is slave morality, a code of restraint born from the survival instinct of those who lack the strength to dominate. Nietzsche's radical point was that slave morality, by glorifying submission and passive endurance, doesn't protect the weak, it effectively cements the powerful in their position. It teaches the powerless to accept their lot, thus perpetuating the existing power structure. In our modern context, this translates to a clear lesson: while conscientious people hesitate, those who operate with the ruthless decisiveness of a master morality often take the high ground. The paradox of ruthlessness. Yet, this dynamic contains a profound paradox: while ruthlessness can be a fast track to power, it is rarely a path to sustainable, long-term success. The very cunning that propels an individual to the top often plants the seeds of their eventual downfall. History is a graveyard of the overconfident. Kings who relied on fear instead of loyalty, dictators toppled by their own inner circles, and CEOs ousted after years of political backstabbing. Fear can build an empire with astonishing speed, but it also corrodes its foundations from within. Therefore, while the ruthless may win the initial sprint, they almost never win the marathon. Their short-term gains are often built on a foundation of distrust, resentment, and instability, which ultimately proves to be their undoing. The myth of a fair world. A significant part of the problem is not just that ruthlessness exists, but that so many of us are utterly unprepared for it. From a young age, we are taught the comforting lie that the world is inherently fair, that good people are rewarded, and justice will always prevail. This narrative, while comforting, is dangerously naive. Psychologists call this the just world fallacy, the cognitive bias that leads us to believe that life is inherently fair and that people get what they deserve. However, clinging to this belief blinds us to the need for strategic thinking. Instead of adapting to reality, we wait for fairness to save us. The stark truth is that the game is not fair. It never was. Fairness is not a description of reality but a story we tell to maintain social order. Until you internalize this reality, you will always be at a disadvantage in any arena where power is at stake. The Übermensch, a third, higher path. Nietzsche's solution was not a call to embrace blind cruelty or cling to a naive morality. Instead, he envisioned the Übermensch, the overman, an individual who transcends both illusions and limitations. The Übermensch does not slavishly follow the moral codes of others, nor do they fall into the corrosive trap of cruelty for its own sake. Their power is not derived from the destruction of others but from the relentless mastery of themselves. This is the will to power, in its highest form, not as domination over others, but as an unwavering drive to shape oneself into something greater. The Übermensch lives with radical self-awareness, creates meaning in a world that offers none, and builds something that will endure beyond their own lifetime. While the ruthless exploit and destroy, the Übermensch creates. While others chase fleeting victories, the Übermensch plays the infinite game of growth, depth, and legacy. For principles to master power without losing yourself. Accept reality without bitterness, stop expecting fairness as a reward for virtue. Understand that power is a neutral force that bends to those who understand its rules and dynamics. Develop strategic empathy, learn to read motives, anticipate moves, and understand the psychology of those around you. This allows you to navigate a world of deception without becoming a deceiver yourself. Build inner power first. The most resilient and lasting form of power comes from within. Cultivate skills, knowledge, self-discipline, and wisdom. These are assets that cannot be stolen from you. Create instead of exploit, focus your energy on building something of genuine value, whether that's a business, an idea, or a social movement. The power you create will be far more lasting and meaningful than any power you seize or steal. Yes, the ruthless often rise first. But they rarely stand last. The path of the Übermensch is undeniably harder and less immediately gratifying, but it leads to a kind of power that the ruthless will never comprehend, a power that endures because it is rooted not in fear, but in strength, not in exploitation, but in creation. If the game feels rigged, don't wait for fairness to save you. Change the game, master its rules, and then have the courage to write your own. Conclusion: power, morality, and the choice that defines you. The world is not the fair arena we were promised as children. It's not a meritocracy where virtue automatically earns a reward. Instead, it's a competitive landscape, be it a boardroom, a political chamber, or a quiet corner of daily life, where strategy and adaptability often matter more than moral purity. In this landscape, a difficult truth emerges: those willing to lie and manipulate often rise faster than those who cling to ideals without knowing how to protect them. This isn't cynicism, it's a centuries-old observation of human behavior. From ancient empires to modern corporations, the ruthless have always found ways to exploit systems others take for granted. But understanding this truth is not the same as surrendering to it. Why recognizing reality is the first step. Many well-intentioned people handicap themselves by clinging to the comforting lie that goodness always wins. This belief doesn't protect them. It makes them vulnerable. Assuming that moral virtue is a shield, they fail to develop the skills and awareness needed to navigate a competitive world. Nietzsche's critique of slave morality highlights this blindness, describing it as a mindset that prizes passivity and obedience not because they're inherently better, but because they are survival strategies for the powerless. This kind of morality does not shift the balance of power, it reinforces it. If we want to transcend this cycle, we must first shed our illusions. The world isn't inherently fair, and it won't reward you just for being good. Your virtues must be paired with competence, strategy, and the ability to defend yourself. This isn't pessimism, it's liberation. Once you stop expecting the world to conform to a moral script, you're free to write your own. The trap of ruthlessness. It's tempting to think the answer is to fight fire with fire, to out-cheat the cheaters and out-manipulate the manipulators. Many people take this path, and for a time, they may rise quickly. They gain influence and are envied by others. However, ruthlessness, when it's untethered from wisdom, always contains the seeds of its own destruction. It's a short-term strategy disguised as long-term strength. The fear that a tyrant uses to maintain control also breeds conspiracies against them. The deception that wins a deal erodes the trust and stability required for lasting success. History is full of examples: emperors betrayed by their own guards, CEOs ousted by their boards, and politicians destroyed by the very factions that once served them. Ruthlessness can win you the throne, but it can't guarantee you'll keep it. The third path, the Übermensch. Nietzsche's concept of the Übermensch offers a third way, a path that rejects both blind moral submission and self-destructive cruelty. The Übermensch isn't concerned with conforming to inherited rules or mindlessly breaking them for power's sake. Instead, they seek mastery over themselves and their environment. The Übermensch is strategic, not naive. They see the game for what it is but refuse to be a slave to it. They understand that power is a neutral tool, shaped by the hands that wield it, and they choose to wield it in ways that build rather than simply consume. This is not a call to idealism but to informed strength. The Übermensch studies human nature, understands the forces of competition, and moves within them like a master chess player, always in control and never blindly reactive. The 4 commitments of enduring power. To walk this path is to make 4 unshakable commitments. Commitment to reality over comfort. Refuse to be lulled by the myth of a just world. Accept that life isn't fair, and see this not as a curse, but as an opportunity to act with clarity instead of complacency. Commitment to strategic vision, cultivate foresight and strategic empathy. Understand motives and anticipate moves. Recognize when someone's apparent virtue is a mask and when a threat is hiding in the shape of a friend. Commitment to inner mastery, build skills, discipline, and resilience that cannot be taken from you. This is the foundation of true independence. The ruthless depend on external control, but the self-mastered depend on nothing they don't already own within themselves. Commitment to creation over exploitation, anyone can destroy, few can build. The ruthless win the short game by tearing others down, while the true master wins the long game by creating something that outlives them, be it a business, an idea, an art form, or a movement. The tyrant must constantly watch for betrayal. The deceiver must constantly invent new lies. This is a life of paranoia and instability. The Übermensch, in contrast, doesn't rely on control through fear. Their influence comes from strength, vision, and the value they create. While tyrants build sandcastles in the tide, the Übermensch builds a stone fortress in the mountains. Turning insight into action. Knowing this is not enough, it must be lived. In your career, stop waiting for promotions as a reward for quiet diligence and learn how decisions are actually made. In relationships, stop assuming good intentions are enough and learn to recognize draining patterns. In society, stop believing systems will naturally become fair, and learn to influence them where you can and protect yourself where you cannot. This doesn't mean becoming cynical, it means becoming prepared.